All right, another day building this van. Today is the rooftop vent fan install, and I got a few things that I've done just to make it a bit easier for me, and I'll show you those now. All right, so one of the things that I did was I measured the roof vent fan itself, the opening that's going to be going into the roof, which turned out to be about 14 by 14. I then cut out a scrap sheet of plywood in those dimensions, and this is going to serve two purposes. So it's going to be my stencil for the roof, so that way I can draw the lines of where I'm going to cut with the jigsaw, and it's going to act as an anchor point for the screws on the inside of the roof. So if you can imagine this, it's going to be up there and the screws are going to come through the roof and anchor into this wood instead of just being into the sheet metal itself. You might have seen it in the last clip, but this right here, this is a television box that I've cut a hole in the other side of the box and then ratchet strapped it up to the ceiling, so that way any debris that comes down and any paint that comes down isn't going to get into all the rest of my materials inside. In preparation on the roof, I went ahead and put down some tape just to protect the bare roof metal from any shavings that can get onto it, and I intend to either vacuum them up or blow them away with this before, you know, they stay on there too long and cause rust patches. That being said, time to do some cutting and drilling. All right, so first things first, I've selected a bit that's about the same size as the actual cutting blade itself, and I'm going to drill a hole in each of the four corners so I've got room to turn the actual cutting head. Everybody always says that this is like one of the scariest parts, is cutting a hole into the top of your van. It is. It's definitely scary. So the reason I vacuumed up pretty much right away is because what'll happen is, if this stuff stays on the roof too long, and there's a little bit of moisture up here today, it can actually just start rusting because it's actual bare, unprotected metal, unprotected by paint or any sort of primer or anything. And so I just wanted to get those pieces up before they could cause a rust patch on just perfectly good sheet metal. So I got my ear protection in, and I'm going to go ahead and actually make the cuts. Alright, so we are not even through cutting one side of this, and already this blade has already jumped out of its hole several times, kind of nicked up the rest of the roof up here a little bit, and it's bent up. Now this blade though, this is for sheet metal. I bought the blade specifically to cut sheet metal. It even says sheet metal right on the side of it. So I'm not sure why I did that. I'm going to straighten it out, try to have another go at it. I do have some replacement blades, even for some thicker metal that I might have to throw on here. So we'll see as time goes on. Alright, so here's the old blade. As you can see, it says sheet metal on it, and this is what sheet metal did to it. So I went ahead and picked out the one that says medium metal, and hopefully that will do a little bit better. And there went another blade. Not sure what I'm doing wrong here. It could be because the roof is wavy and corrugated. It could be why I'm losing so many blades here. But let's swap it out and keep going. there goes another blade. Not sure what I'm doing wrong here. All right, so since I've turned off the camera, some crazy stuff has happened. I've actually snapped the blade, but I've kind of identified the main culprit of this issue, and I think I've got it solved, so let me show you. So I found out the main culprit is right along these ridges. So the tool, the blade comes down, but it only comes down so far. And when you get to the ridges, sometimes the blade doesn't go down far enough based off of which way the tool, you know, the tool's direction. Because when the tool is going over these ridges, sometimes you're bending it up and down, and the tip just can't catch inside of there. So what I've done to combat this is I've drilled some holes along this side here, and yeah, I could just kind of toughed it out through the rest of it, but this is the only side I have left, so we'll see how it works to this side. All right, so we had mostly great success there. I've got just one part on the corner here that needs to get done still, and I'm not sure why it still jumped up like that, but that seems to be the main culprit or solution. Now, a lot of you might be thinking, wow, why didn't he just use an angle grinder? Well, I have an angle grinder, you know, nice battery operated DeWalt angle grinder, just like the rest of these tools. But the problem is that I thought there would be too much sparks, too much metal shavings to use that, so I just opted not to. I don't know if that would have been a better route or not, but just kind of keep that in mind. All right, so now that I've got that over with, I've actually got some sandpaper, and I'm gonna sandpaper where I had actually cut and where the machine actually came off and nicked the surfaces. So there's actually a lot of those, kind of embarrassed. But hey, learn from my mistakes, don't do it the same way I did. So as you can see, it's actually, you know, there's a hole there, it's cut out, it's the right size for the fan. But when the tool jumped around, it would cause damage to the actual roof itself. So just be careful. So you might be wondering, Andrew, why would you go ahead and sandpaper all this down? Well, it's because paint sticks better to sanded surfaces, and so I've got this Rust-Oleum paint, so hopefully this will help me with any sort of future rust issues up here, and this will hopefully just prevent it. Now, before painting, I'm just got a napkin and I'm wiping down any surfaces that I think the paint is gonna get onto, so that way if there's any dust there or any metal shavings or anything, then it will just be able to stick directly to the surface and not get caught up in the dust and not adhere properly. All right, so there are some spots where too much of the paint got and things like that, but this is the roof, so this is mainly for utility purposes, just to keep this from rusting. So if this was the side, I would have definitely done, you know, a lot more careful work and done a lot better outcome. As you can see, there's, you know, more like runs and whatnot. I don't know if the camera is really picking it up, all the bubbles and stuff. All right, so the next step in the project is to put the caulk on, put the fan on, get the holes drilled for all of that. So while I'm doing the prep work for that, just wanted to go over, this is the silicone I got. It is called Supreme Silicone. It says it's 100% waterproof, 100% more flexibility, which I thought was gonna be key for going down the road, being able to be flexible, you know, going over bumps and stuff. It says it's freeze proof and sun proof. And it says 7x stronger adhesion. It also says lifetime mold free and 30-minute rain ready. So it's also shrink and crack proof, and it says it won't blemish metals. It also has a lifetime guarantee. I don't know how that's enforceable. It's also rated indoor and outdoor. So I figured with all the temperatures I'm going to be exposing this to, being on the road and going over bumps and all of that, I figured that it would be best to go with something like this rather than just a regular silicone. And maybe I've been tricked, maybe I'm just the consumer, maybe the people that made this got me by just putting all this on the can, but I don't know, moving forward in confidence on this. Alright, so what I've done now is I've stuck the rooftop vent fan on the roof and through the hole. I haven't put any caulking in or anything yet. This is just so that way I can take my template piece and put it underneath the here, right around here, and then we're gonna drill the holes through the roof and through the wooden piece, so that way we'll have the holes ready to go to put the screws in when we're ready with the caulk, so we don't have to waste time with all of that and the caulk can set properly. So the way I held that wood up there is with this 3M exterior tape, and that's gonna hold it in place while I do all that drilling on the top. All right, and so this brings us to why I selected this drill bit over all drill bits to use. So I don't know if you can tell on the video or not, but this drill bit is slightly smaller than the actual screw that I'm going to be using, and not just the ribs in the screw, but I'm trying to go for around the same size or slightly smaller than the center of the screw, so that way it'll have enough room on the sides to actually grip. So that piece of wood right here on the inside, it actually didn't stay up long enough for me to drill all the holes and stuff. I guess the tape just wasn't enough for the pressure of the drill and everything, so I'm just gonna have to have somebody stand inside there and push it up while I'm drilling the next ones in. You know, just kind of gotta keep safe, and hopefully I won't drill their fingers. As far as caulking and stuff, I don't actually have the roof template piece that would cover these holes, so I'm just going to be filling this area with caulk and just putting a massive amount of caulk on this project, and hopefully it'll just remain waterproof. Alright, here we are. So essentially what I've done is, instead of having those spacers, I've just filled that entire ridge with caulk, and I caulked all the way around it, and I caulked on the screws as well. And this again is that silicone that I showed you earlier. And anyways, it's in, so it's going to dry, and I may end up putting that same tape that I used to hold the solar panels down on there as an extra sealant. I don't know, comment if you think that's a good idea, if it's necessary, if it's worth it. I'm gonna go ahead and clean up here, get everything put away. Anyways, please like and subscribe this video, and I hope that you learn from some of my mistakes and you can do your install better yourself.